Morning. The Louisiana Board Parole or Committee on Parole is in Baton Rouge at headquarters today conducting hearings. Today on the panel to my left is Danny Barra, to my right, Pete Freeman. My name is Jerry Ledoux. On staff here we have Jason
Francis Abbott.
We are hearing offenders this morning, a revocation hearing at Riverbend Detention Center. Is there any staff there in support? Okay. Sir, your microphone is muted. If you'll go ahead and unmute and state your name and your DOC number for me, please.
Chad Parker, DOC number 603144.
Mr. Parker, you're before this committee as a fifth felony offender facing revocation for three charges against your parole conditions. Do you have a piece of paper in front of you that has some questionnaires, a questionnaire about can you read or write? Are you you understand the charges? Do you have that paper in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that signature 52124, is that your signature?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that indicates that you are not eligible for appointed counsel. So, sir, at this time, I'm going to read the allegations against you, and I'm going to ask you to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty in either one of those with a statement. So, okay, so condition number 4, you were arrested on 12/19/2023 by the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office for aggravated assault, possession of marijuana, first offense, entry on or remaining in a place or on land after being forbidden, resisting an officer in violation of protective order. All these cases were handled on 5/4/2024, and the charges of aggravated assault, possession of marijuana, and entry on or remain after forbidden were null processed. The charge of resisting an officer, you pled guilty. The charge of violation of a protective order, the victim signed to drop those charges. How do you plead on that?
Like what you mean? Like do I plead?
Is all of that correct? Did you plead guilty to violating a protective order? I mean, they were dropped, but how do you plead? What was your behavior?
Oh well, see that's my address that I paroled out to. And
Okay.
that's my address. And it was a mix up because that's my mom's house.
Okay, let's stop. You were arrested for aggravated assault. How do you plead to that? Were you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Okay. How about possession of marijuana, first offense? How do you plead to that?
Not guilty.
Okay. How about entering or remaining on a place or land where you're forbidden?
Not guilty.
How do you plead to resisting an officer?
Guilty.
Okay. And what about, okay, number 10, oh wait, also number 5. Number 5 says that you pled guilty when you admitted you had a 12-inch knife to defend yourself. How do you plead now?
Yeah, I was guilty of that. I did have that.
Okay. And number 10, you're $1,071 in arrears of your fees. How do you plead?
How much?
$1,071.
I guess I'm guilty of that. But I got a question on that if you don't mind. Okay.
We'll ask questions or allow Mr. Freeman to have you ask that question. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, Chad, I've been assigned your case today, and I've looked at it, and I'll tell you up front, I'm not that worried about the money.
Okay.
So we're not gonna discuss that much,
Oh,
but
okay.
I am worried, why'd you keep going to this place when they kept running you off?
No, they wasn't right. I had a room over there, and it was a situation between me and my neighbor, and he said that well, I'm taking your money. So I'm like, well, how you gonna take my money? And I had a room, I paid up to a certain amount of days for the room. And when me and him had a altercation, I left. And when I came back and walked back over there to get my bicycle, him and the maintenance man pulled a shovel and a bat on me. And that's the reason why I brandished the knife to defend myself, to go back to get my bicycle. And he called the police on me. And when I made it back down the street with my bicycle, I was arrested. I just wanted to get either my money back or my bicycle. I was able to get the bicycle, but couldn't get the money back. Because one day you'll tell me that I'm all right to stay over here. And then the next day, me and you have an argument. You tell me I can't come back. Then the next day I see you and you be like, okay, man, you can come back.
Let's move on for that one, all right? They searched you and they found marijuana and a knife on you. You said you didn't have any marijuana.
No, I said I wasn't guilty because of the marijuana because they dropped the charge.
Don't matter.
Oh,
Did you have the marijuana?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Mr. Freeman, do you have any questions? I mean, excuse me, Mr. Barrack's.
Yeah, I understand your explanation for the problem with your landlord or whoever he was.
Yes,
But
sir.
what about the problem with the police? It didn't seem like you cooperated very much with the police. Can you tell me a little bit about why that happened like that? That's my concern.
Because I'm always being harassed by these same officers. If you can look, if y'all have any like history, I had a trespassing charge that happened like about 2 weeks prior to that with these same officers that hassled me up and in my front yard, the same yard that I had a violation of. That's my house. And these same officers keep harassing me and keep on roughing me up. So yeah, I was upset, sir. I can't lie about that. Yeah, I was upset. Yeah, I was irate about it because these the same officers. I guess they work my area where I live at, and they always harassing me about something. And the reason why, that's the same knife that I had when I got arrested for the trespassing charge, and they gave it back. So I wasn't under knowledge that I could catch a charge for having a knife. I knew I wasn't supposed to have a gun, but I didn't know that I couldn't have a knife. You know, I didn't understand that I wasn't supposed to have nothing like that. And they gave me this same knife back. I got a trespassing charge from the Holmes' store because my girlfriend, she worked there, and me and her got an altercation. And when I went back over there, he was like, oh, well, you can't come back in the store. I'm like, well, you never told me I couldn't come back in the store. And he called the police, but by the time he called the police, I left. But he knows my address because it's like across the street from my house. And when I got back to my house, these same cops knocked on my door and told me to come outside, and they placed me in handcuffs, roughed me up in front of my mama. And I caught the trespassing charge. They brought me down to the Lake Charles Police Department and wrote me the citation, and they let me go. And when they let me go, they gave me the same knife back. So I wasn't under knowledge that I wasn't supposed to have no knife. I know I'm not supposed to have a gun, but I didn't know I didn't know I could be violated for having a knife on me.
All right, thank you. That answers the question.
Right.
That's the only question I had.
Do you have any other further statement to the board?
Well, the only thing I want about my like how much time if I get violated, how much time do I have to do? I had 22 months left, full term day on parole. How much time do I have to do?
Mr. Parker, we don't compute time. I'm sorry. That's not something we do.
Oh, all right.
Mr. Freeman, are you prepared to vote at this time?
Yes, I'm ready to vote. Subject admitted he had marijuana and the knife. That's violations, and I vote to revoke.
I'll concur with Mr. Freeman.
My vote was to, in lieu of revocation, send you to a transitional work program so you could earn some money. and you would be there for about the same amount of time. But your parole has been revoked at this time.
So you say what? I go to a transitional work program?
But that was not concurred upon, so your vote has been to revoke your parole. Your parole's been revoked. And that's the only case we have at Riverbend, so it's 8:58, and we'll be signing off there. Thank Good morning. The Louisiana Committee on Parole is providing hearings here in Baton Rouge at headquarters. Today on the panel to my left, Danny Byrod, to my right, Pete Freeman. My name is Jerry Ledoux. In support, we have our staff. We're hearing offenders at Orleans Parish Prison. And who do we have staffing there? So there's no one in the room with you, sir? Is there? So there's no one there in staffing you, is that correct, sir? We don't,
Mute us.
are we muted?
Yes, can you hear us?
Are you going to remain and staff him, or he'll be alone?
Leave me alone, we're gonna be standing right outside the door.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, sir, you may not have heard me. This is the Parole Committee. My name is Jerry Ledoux. To my left is Rod. To my right is Mr. Freeman. And we're going to ask you to state your name and your DOC number, please.
I'm Ronald Davis. DOC number is 245-0478.
Okay, just a moment. So we have before us Mr. Ronald Davis. Mr. Davis, you're before this panel today because there are allegations that you have violated condition 4, 5, 6, and 10 of your parole agreement. Do you have a piece of paper in front of you that shows your signature where you state you can read, write, you understand, then you, okay. So you're not eligible for appointed counsel today. So how this is going to work is I'm going to read the allegations against you. And at that time, you're going to enter a guilty or not guilty statement. You're not to make a statement at that time because we will allow you to do that. Your question. That? Okay, sir. You were found in violation of condition number 4, wherein you were arrested on 4/6/24 and detained on 4/8/24 by the dwelling PD for charges simple theft, illegal use of a weapon or dangerous and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. How do you plead?
Guilty.
On number 4, well, you were convicted of those. Hard simple battery. Oh, okay. Second on 5, where all those charges were reversed due to the victim not wanting to pursue charges. You were charged with simple battery, illegal use of a weapon, and possession. So you plead guilty on that as well?
Possession of discharge of a firearm?
Yes.
No, not guilty.
Okay, and number 10, says that you are in arrears of your fees, $315. How do you feel on that?
Guilty.
Okay. This is. Mr. Davis, I'd like to go into executive session for a moment to discuss something.
I say,
Make a motion.
Petrie?
Yes.
Yes. Anybody?
yeah.
Little thing went out. Y'all can hear me? Hello? It went out.
I want to see, what was the last thing we see?
Guilty or not guilty?
I can't.
Guilty or not guilty?
Excuse me.
Hey, we're not finished yet.
Okay,
Oh,
Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis,
Yes.
we were prepared for another offender. We have all of your information. We're waiting to connect the people who are in support of you. If you'll just chill for a few minutes, we'll back. Right, Mr. Davis. Today we have, we're going to be asking you some questions, but we do have two people in support. We said we're going to let them speak first. We have Attorney Annie Flanagan. Is that correct?
Yes, good morning.
You may address the panel this time.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You can address the panel at this time.
Okay, I am corresponding with Mr. Rubidoux, who is the social worker on Mr. Davis's case. He, I believe, is logging in. He has the details of a pretty robust reentry plan that we've put together. But I'll just address the court while we're waiting to explain Mr. Davis's position. He also is open to taking questions. But I would point out that Mr. Davis has been held in jail since April 7th of this year. On the district attorney's office found that there was insufficient evidence to prosecute the charges against Mr. Davis, who maintains his innocence. No evidence to corroborate these charges has been presented, aside from the fact of his arrest. Nonetheless, Mr. Davis acknowledges his mistake of falling in with the wrong crowd while unparoled. falling in with people who would fabricate charges against him and put his liberty at risk, and being in situations in which his safety and security were compromised. Although the DA's office found these allegations were lacking in merit, Mr. Davis does take accountability for associating with these people who did not support his rehabilitation. He recognizes his mistakes from the last time he was released on parole and seeks to utilize the services that Mr. Rubidoux can outline to ensure his success. Mr. Davis has spent the time he's been incarcerated on these charges rededicating himself to his rehabilitation, engaging with Mr. Rubidoux enthusiastically, and developing a plan to ensure that he can be present and active in his young daughter's life, something that was not available to Mr. Davis when he was growing up. Growing up, Mr. Davis spent time in foster care and experienced a lot of personal instability that led to criminal justice involvement, but Mr. Davis is committed to changing that pattern now. I would like for the board to, I'm gonna contact Mr. Rubidoux if y'all wanna ask Mr. Davis questions about any questions you may have, but Mr. Rubidoux does have a pretty detailed plan for why Mr. Davis is going to be in a much different position if he is released back onto parole this time. And Mr. Davis is open to answering any questions the board has.
At this time, Mr. Barra has been assigned to your case to take lead. So, Mr. Barra, at this time, I would ask you to go ahead.
All right, I'm looking at offense report filed by the police department, and basically there's ladies in here who saw you with the firearm and decided they did not want to proceed with the investigation, but they both gave statements that they saw you with the firearm. One saw you firing the firearm. So question is, you have a firearm?
No, sir.
No firearm at all.
No, sir.
And they said that the night before the incident, you had turned the firearm over to them for safekeeping. So the night before, you turned the firearm over to them?
I have a firearm, sir.
You do?
I don't have any. I didn't have one.
Okay. So that's my only question.
Mr. Frank.
Okay, so what you're saying is these two people just aligned?
There was actually drinking that night, and a lot of stuff was going on, a lot of company and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what was going on that night. That night I actually didn't remember some things that happened that night. So I don't believe that was true. And the simple fact that we was leaving, moving out their residence that night, and she was just patrolled. Apparently, I don't know what's exactly apparent, but she was very controllable and just basically saying things out of her head and stuff like that.
Okay, I have, but
Mr. Barra, but we do have, I see Mr. Is it Matthew Panetta or is it Mr. Rubidoux?
It's Mr. Rubidoux for Mr. Davis.
Okay, so Mr. Rubidoux, if you'll introduce yourself and go ahead and address the panel with your plan.
Absolutely. Good morning. Can you all hear me?
I can't.
Yeah, I'm a social worker with the Orleans Public Defender's Office. I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Davis for the last few weeks. We acknowledge that he's been through a lot over his life. There have been difficult periods. There have also been significant periods of success wherein he was able to maintain sobriety, wherein he was able to achieve stable housing through homeless services. And we have a plan in place to help him get back to that point. We recommend that he work with the Orleans Parish Daily Reporting Center. They offer a wide variety of programming, inclusive intensive outpatient substance abuse, education. They have programming that can help him get his GED. they have anger management classes that he expressed interest in. And we also have a plan in place to get him back on track with a caseworker in the homeless services community that has been working and knowing Mr. Davis and his family for quite a while. He issued a statement saying that he would be willing to work with Mr. Davis again. And we just really do believe that, you know, maybe there have been a few setbacks, but we do believe that Mr. Davis has a lot of potential out here. And we think that with the right services in place, he can be a productive member of society, and we can see a lot of improvement as we have in the past.
We appreciate your interest in the case and providing that information. Have also a written copy of that information
Yes, ma'am.
packet. I believe I'm prepared to vote. Mr. Bonner.
Yeah, I want to give a chance to make the final, tell us what you got to say about it.
Mr. Davis, if you want to give a brief address.
My address, 15 Treasure Court.
No, sorry, if you want to address the court at all, just explain.
Want to tell us regarding before we go further with the case?
I would like to say, I apologize for my mistakes. I know I made wrong choices in the past, and I'm willing to change and stay away from all the negative vibes. Work more, support my family much better as I could, and just get on the right track. That's what I'm focused on right now.
All right. Well, prepared to vote, and basically, I'm looking at your present offense with on supervision for being domestic abuse, battery, child endangerment, domestic abuse, battery, strangulation, domestic abuse, battery, possession of a firearm or carrying a concealed weapon, domestic abuse, battery, child endangerment, pregnant. And then while you're on supervision for that, you get accused of doing quite similar offenses. And there are witness statements that said they saw you with the gun, whether you remember you had the gun or not. There are witness statements, 2 of them that saw the gun, and 1 of them heard the shots and then saw you appear. So probable cause was found on that at the preliminary hearing by the hearing officer there. So taking into consideration all I've just said, I will have to revoke your probation or parole.
Mr. Frame.
I concur for the same reasons. I'm looking at the 2 witnesses. I see the lady that you supposedly jumped on because she wouldn't give you the gun, and then 2 people say you shot the gun and walked off, later returned without the gun. My vote is to revoke.
I concur with my, so today on a vote unanimous, you are revoked. Thank you, sir.
What that mean? What that mean?
Mr. Davis, you'll have to be, your parole was revoked, so you'll have to be put back in DOC for the rest of your time. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, I'll come see you.
That's what you're supposed to be saying? Yeah, that's my fiance.
Unless you would have.
So, we are still at Orleans Parish Prison, and my name is Jerry Ledoux. I'm chairing today. To my left is Mr. Barra. To my right is Mr. Freeman. And we are going to be taking up your case. Sir, would you introduce yourself and give us your DOC number?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yes, my name is Brian DEWHIRST, DOC number 7632883.
Okay. Mr. DeWhirst, you're before this panel for violating conditions of parole agreement. You are alleged to violate condition number 2 and 4, but before we do that, I want to make sure that you are not eligible for appointed counsel. Do you have a piece of paper in front of you that you signed?
No, I didn't ask for appointed counsel.
Okay, and you're not eligible. You signed a statement on 7/1/24, so you are not eligible.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
To read the allegations against you, and then I'm going to ask you to enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, or not guilty of the statement. You do have a statement, you'll hold on to that until a appropriate time. You were found guilty of condition number 2. You failed to report to the office and missed an appointment on 5/24. How do you plead on that?
Not guilty.
Not guilty. And condition number 4, you were engaged in criminal activity when you were arrested on 2/18/24 by the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office and booked with domestic abuse battery. We recognize that the DA refused the charge 6/6/2024, but how do you plead on that?
Not guilty.
I'll go ahead and at this time, Michelle Pearson, who is today in your support, to go ahead and make a statement to the panel.
Good morning, everyone. I would just like to say on Brian's behalf that since that incident, I had thought about what had transpired, and I don't believe that Brian did anything that would break his parole. I was just afraid, and I had my phone over my head, and I believe that he was just trying to get my phone. I believe that Brian is a well-educated man and has a lot left to do, has parents that are elderly that need him, and has a lot to give back as he has in the past to the community. And I don't believe, in my humble opinion, that prison is the place for him to be.
So at the time, though, you were afraid and you called the police and charged them.
Yes, ma'am.
You may have.
Was he drinking?
Pardon?
Does he drink?
Yes, sir.
And he's on for DWI 3rd. You drink. Okay. And you also stated in your statement that you filmed with your phone. So now you recanting all of that, even though we got it on phone. Get off of me, quit hitting me.
Well, as I said before, after I calmed down, I realized he wasn't hitting me. He hit my face, not with his hand, but because he was trying to get my phone. My phone was above my head.
Yeah.
And I realized I'm not recanting anything. You have a video which really shows nothing. It shows me very upset and afraid. But after, like I said previously, after I calmed down, I realized that he wasn't hitting me. He just brushed the right side of my face because my phone was above my head and he was trying to get my phone.
Thank you.
Mr. Barra has a question.
What's your current relationship with him?
He is my boyfriend.
And do y'all plan on living with him if he gets released? And I'm going back to live again?
Yes, sir.
And after making that statement, and then in the statement to police, you said that there have been other domestic issues with worse in the past, but you have never contacted police about before today. So with that being said, and the current example that we have, you're going to tell me that you're not fearful of him whatsoever at this point?
No, sir. He's taken out. I mean, before you guys took him in, he had taken steps to take anger management classes. If he gets aggravated, he takes a walk. He's implemented different things to cause him to calm down. He has anxiety, which, you know, if I believed to get me, I would not think would be an excuse for anyone, whether man or woman. But he has implemented what he's learned and what he's learning in order to not even have what happened that night happen again.
That's all the questions I have.
Okay. I need to speak with Mr. First. First, what is the present charge that you are on good time parole?
I'm sorry, say that again, you cut out.
What is the charge that you were currently on good time parole for?
The prison charge was DWI.
DWI.
Yes.
Mr. DeWhirst, did you go to the store and buy some alcohol, stop by a bar, and go home with alcohol that day?
No, ma'am. I think she misunderstood the question. I have been sober since I left prison on May 9th, 2023. I attend Alcoholics Anonymous as well as SMART Recovery. So I went to Mardi Gras night with friends. My girlfriend Michelle was supposed to meet me. She didn't meet me. I came home upset that she didn't meet me. She came down the stairs videoing me, and I was upset that she was videoing me because I was mad. And when I get mad, I get loud because I don't hear out of my right ear. I have a bird defect. And in my right ear and my right eye. I can't see out of my right eye and I can't hear. So I'm loud. I'm loud in general. I raised my voice that night. She was videoing me to show me how loud I was. I didn't want her videoing me, and so I took the phone away from her and I took it upstairs with me. And that's when she proceeded to call the police. So no, I was not drinking. I have been very good about attending my regular classes. I am in anger management classes and will continue with it. I have my doctor involved as well. My primary care physician is helping me. So, I have, like you said, I do have a statement prepared whenever you would like me to read that.
So again, we have a situation where Ms. Pearson indicated that you arrived home after picking up beer and drinking at a local bar. Mr. Freeman would like to.
I just would like Ms. Pearson's response to that. I just asked you point blank, was he drinking, and you said yes. Ma'am?
I'm sorry, it had muted me again. I thought that he was, sir.
And is that something he has been doing? Has he been
No,
doing?
that's why I was surprised. Because he hadn't been drinking.
Let me give it, Mr. DeWhirst.
Yes, ma'am.
If you you were telling me you have not been drinking at all.
Yes, that's correct. Since even before that, because I was incarcerated July 15, 2022, I don't really, I guess I don't consider that, but when I was released, Warden Bickham released me immediately. I did well there. I completed my classes and he released me, and his final words were, behave yourself out there. And to honor that immediate release from the warden, I went to my AA classes. I started SMART recovery again, and I was not drinking, as Michelle knows. And I think that day, because it was Mardi Gras night, she made an assumption that I was off drinking, and I wasn't. I was with friends that were all sober friends from my group in Bucktown, my Bucktown AA group. So I was with safe people that night.
And she just, she didn't see the 2 6-packs of beer wasn't there. In other words, you didn't bring that home. She just imagined.
I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know if she had beer, but
You ought to tell us the truth. You need to tell us the truth.
I did not bring any beer home.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. DeWhirst, it's very unfortunate that stories change, but I have the information before me that there was a violation, that you got up with her, that you had alcohol. My vote today is going to be to revoke parole based on the charges we have for us today.
Ma'am, the beer could have been in there. She could have seen beer in there before I even got home. The beer could have been in there. I have not touched beer.
But no long talking, we vote.
I think Mr. Freeman is prepared to vote.
My vote is also to revoke. There's just too many holes in this story.
Oh, please.
And I vote to revoke based on the police report and the details provided.
Your parole has been revoked today. It's a very hard lesson to learn. Thank you.
Sign off. Sign off.
And now we're completing in Orleans Parish Prison at 9:52.
No, but if y'all need to get started, we can.
Good morning. This is the Louisiana Committee on Parole, and we are in headquarters in Baton Rouge today. We are hearing offenders at an offender at the State Police Barracks. My name is Jerry Ledoux. I'm the chair today. To my left is Danny Barra. To my right, Pete Freeman. Who do we have on staff there at Barracks?
Lisa Frazier on the classification.
Captain Pat Washington.
Captain, thank you for being here. Sir, as we get started, would you please introduce yourself by giving us your name and your DOC number?
My name is Rocky Hebert, number 415304.
Mr. Hebert, you're before the Louisiana Committee on Parole for a hearing. We find that you are currently a first felony offender. This is a rehearing. You had a parole eligibility date of August 1st, 2021. You have a adjusted good time date of 7/16/2039 and a full term date of January 10th, 2048. Is that correct according to your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
So what we're going to do is a little different order. We're going to allow those people in support of you to speak first, and then we'll allow you to make a statement, and then we'll allow those in opposition to speak. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
We have is Matthew Panetta going to be speaking today with the Parole Project?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you'll go ahead and address the panel.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to this honorable parole board, and I thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mr. Rocky Hebert. My name is Matthew Pineda with the Louisiana Parole Project. We feel that Mr. Hebert would be a good candidate for our program. He has maintained an exemplary disciplinary record. In the course of 27 years, he has not had a single disciplinary report. And because of this excellent conduct, it has afforded him the opportunity to serve in several minimum security trustee jobs. He has held down these jobs, and he has been housed at a minimum security facility at the State Police Barracks located in Zachary, where he works as a maintenance trustee. He is also a graduate from the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. He has attained his associate and Bachelor of Arts degrees while at Angola, and he has continued pursuing his master's degree at this current time while he's at the State Police Barracks. He has served our country and is an honorably discharged Army veteran. He has maintained his involvement in educational and rehabilitation programs his entire incarceration. And if granted parole today, the Louisiana Parole Project will provide transitional housing, case management, peer support, counseling with our staff social worker, and assistance through the 4 weeks of intensive rehabilitation programming that we provide at our program. Once he completes our program, he has an approved residence in Mississippi, where he will transition to work as a prison chaplain in the Mississippi Department of Corrections under Commissioner Mr. Burl Cain. And we humbly ask that this honorable board grant Mr. Hebert parole today to continue his hard work and service that he is already doing inside the facility at the State Police Barracks. We feel like he will not have any problem following the footsteps of our previous successful clients at the Parole Project. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Renee Hebert and Haley Hebert, brother and daughter of of Rocky. And we'll ask Renee to speak first. I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you'll go ahead and address the panel and keep it to about 3 minutes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I am Renee Hebert. I am Rocky's oldest brother and only brother, honestly. He has been locked away at a very young age, and I've watched him change over the years from where he was in his life to where he is now. He has, to me, shown 100% turnaround. What happened back then was no denying. He was not in the right frame of mind. There was other substance that was mixed with the young age. But we, as a family, have watched him change. Since his incarceration, my mother has passed away. This was one of her wishes that before she had passed, I am right now taking care of my dad, who is a vet, a U.S. vet, which has dementia and Alzheimer's, who lives with me in my house. So I work between taking care of him and also holding my job down for my family. But my brother's, where he, like I said, where he was in his life, where he is now, it's a 180-degree change. I can't speak how proud we are to see him change his life around when there's other people that have not, that have been incarcerated for this long, especially at a young age that he was incarcerated.
Thank you very much for your comments. We also have Rocky's daughter, Haley Hebert, and give you an opportunity to speak now.
Hi, I'm here. I'm with my 2 other sisters also. We've been visiting for many years, and like we've seen his growth as a person and the things that he's changed. You know, we have children now, and it would be nice for him to be a part of their lives. It was hard growing up without him in our life, and you know, you can't change the past, and it's, you know, he's just grown from where he was. So
Thank you very much for speaking on his behalf today. We also have individuals here in opposition to the release, and we would like to allow Sarah Carline, the victim's mother, to speak at this point. If you can hear us, we can see you. If you go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Sarah Carline. I'm Andrea's mother. I'm going to speak on Andrea's behalf because she can't. Andrea's life was taken away from her June 24th of 1997. He didn't just shake her, he intended to kill her. Andrea suffers from seizures daily. She's blind, she's tube fed, she's diapered, she can't walk. She's had 21 surgeries. She has rods in her spine. She has her femurs removed because her hips kept getting replaced. Andrea hasn't met any milestones in her life. This is Andrea. Andrea does nothing. She's 27 years old. She could have went to college. She could have became something, but his hands took that away. His hands took that away. He shows no remorse for what he's done. He's never showed any remorse for what he's done. He has all the time in prison to get all these degrees. Well, guess what? I did it with a disabled child. I went to school. I graduated college. I became something with a child. He did it living his best life in the barracks. Andrea can't do it. Andrea couldn't go to school. Andrea can't get married and have children and enjoy her life. Everything was taken away from her by him. You know, he says he's got this biblical college thing. Well, you know what? That's a crutch. That's a crutch. She has seizures daily. Her care is 24/7 around the clock. She can't be left alone. She has to have somebody be with her and take care of her, suction her. She can't even scratch if she has an itch. She can't tell me when she's in pain. She does nothing. She's like a 3-month-old infant. His sentence was 50 years with no parole and no probation, hard labor. He should be serving that time in Angola. He should be serving his full term in Angola, not at the barracks. Andrea hasn't experienced the life. She's never had a normal, healthy life. She was born perfectly fine, but Rocky took all that away from her. She can't enjoy our faces. She can't enjoy the beauty of her loved ones. Her sister, she has a sister. She can't enjoy that. Everything that she's ever known is this, you know, is Andrea like this. We don't, you know, we live with it. We love her no matter what. God gave her to me and kept her alive because the doctors said there was nothing they did that kept her alive. Andrea's brain was swelling so much, it was 1/8 of an inch from her brain stem. They said if it would have touched her brain stem, she would have been dead. All her ribs were broken, arm broken, legs broken. That wasn't just shaken. That was intending to kill her. She does take multiple medications 3 times a day. She has muscle spasms, seizures. She's in pain, but she can't tell me she's in pain. We just try to keep her comfortable. That's it. Her life was affected whenever he took all of this away from her. He deserves to serve his time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. We also have in opposition Mark Rhodes with 32nd JDC.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mark Rhodes. I was formerly the first assistant district attorney in the 32nd JDC. I've been retired since 2016. Andrea's case was the 2 main factors that I'd like you to focus on here today. One, when I chose this charge, attempted first-degree murder, there was a lot of pushback from fellow prosecutors in my office going, I don't know that you can get that. That's specific intent to kill, okay? You have to prove that the perpetrator specifically intended to kill. This was not a whodunit. This was not a whodunit. This was a question of what was the intent. And the intent was to inflict serious bodily harm or to kill, okay? That's important. That's the highest burden a prosecutor has to cross, all right? Other shaken baby cases, lend themselves to maybe a liberal interpretation of manslaughter. Somebody loses their head. This was not that. We presented physical evidence from medical doctors that showed that the severity of the injuries indicated that you can't do this without thinking that you're killing this child, okay? The second thing I'd like you to focus on is, I don't know, all of you appear to be about approximately my age. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but when you enter this age, you start to learn about caregiving with your parents, maybe older siblings. If you've ever been a caregiver, then you understand the burden, the sentence that these people have to carry. It's not the patient you have to worry about, it's the caregiver. This is an all-consuming, it takes over everything in your life. Quite honestly, I don't know how Sarah did all that she did, that she was able to accomplish. This is 24/7. And when we approached them about what the charge was going to be, because a prosecutor before me had foolishly entertained plea bargain negotiations. And when I came back into the office, I had taken a sabbatical. I came back in and I asked my secretary, what's the hottest thing in this building? And she brought this file to me. She said, this is a disgrace. This prosecutor's offering this guy 6 years or 15 years or whatever it was. I said, well, when does the offer expire? She said, tomorrow. I said, okay, lay low. The day after tomorrow, we sent him a letter that said the charges are going to be attempted first-degree murder. And everybody went, ooh, I don't know about that. That's specific intent to kill. You're liable to get a compromised verdict from the jury. So my point is that his actions on that day were proven to a jury of his peers to be in line with someone having the intent to kill. If he had accomplished what he wanted, he would not be looking at parole at 27 years, okay? And also, when I'm telling my victims, we're gonna go this route, attempted first-degree murder, and one of the reasons we're doing that is because even though it says without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence, it always comes back, okay? So we want the most serious charge so that we can defeat probation, parole, and suspension of sentence situations down the road. So the two things I would ask that you focus on, not so much Andre's injuries, those speak for themselves. Nobody's heart wouldn't go out to this child. So focus on Mr. Hebert's intentions. He intended to kill this child. I know that's hard for you to believe, but that's exactly what the jury found. And also to look at the burden, and I know they don't see it as a burden because these people have so much love in their heart. It makes me feel heartless. And I'm not a heartless prosecutor. I was known to be a very fair prosecutor, to be a proponent of restorative justice, all those things. But I tried over 70 life sentence cases, 8 capital murder cases, and I have to tell you, this was one of the most horrific cases I ever tried. And to grant, I can't believe that he's at Jackson Barracks. I just can't. For the life of me, I can't understand that. But anyway, I would ask this court, this board, to deny Mr. Hebert's request. I thank you for your time. I'll also answer any questions you might have.
We have significant packet. This case has been assigned for Mr. Freeman to take lead on, and I'll let you get the statement from Mr. Hebert.
Okay, Mr. Hebert, tell us what happened, what went on that day, and also tell us why do you think we should let you out today?
All right, yes, sir. First and foremost, I'd like to apologize through the board to Sarah Larpin, Andrea Larpin, and Mark Rhodes, and everybody that was affected by this. Because one of the most impactful classes that I've taken in my 27 years of incarceration was victims awareness. And it's shown me that just more than a whole bunch of people impacted by this crime, not just me or them or a lot, it was a ripple effect. And for that, I'm apologetic to everybody that was involved, Houma Police Department, DA's office, everybody. My life was spiraling, you know. I had childhood dreams growing up that I wanted to join the military and serve 30 years. And well, my life began at 13 years old when my first wife got pregnant for my oldest child. He's 37 years old right now. And I accepted my responsibilities for that child. And I started going to work every day after school from 3 to 11 in my mom and dad's washing materials. Well, eventually I had to quit school and get married and take care of my responsibilities, but I still found a way to take, you know, to take quarter credit hours at Delta College and still join the military. Well, a few years later, she got pregnant for a set of twins, and the military gave me an honorable discharge because I wasn't able to financially support my family because my family had got so big. But when I come home, my wife at the time didn't want anything to have with me, so I had to start my life over. That's when I met Sarah. And we instantly fell in love with each other, and you know, life took that turn for me. But my life was already beginning to spiral out of control because I was living a life that I didn't, you know, dream of when I was a kid. I wanted to be in the military. But I had joined the National Guard to try to reclaim my way back into the active duty status that I was in. And my life was spiraling hard. And I was starting to go out more, and I was starting to drink more, and I was starting to just go down the wrong path. And on June 24th, 1997 was the second time that I laid hands on my daughter. I shook her that morning. I put a nookie in her mouth and I tapped on her butt, and I thought she went to sleep, but she started having seizures. Instantly, I told my wife at the time, call the doctor. They said it was nothing. I insisted that she call back, and then we went to the doctor's office. He told us to come in, and I carried the baby in, and he took her out of my arms, and he asked us to sign a paperwork dealing with a spinal tap. And approximately 2 weeks before that, I actually, you know, shook her, you know, put my hands on her again, you know, the first time. But my life was spiraling hard. It wasn't nothing to do with her or my wife. I didn't have any intention on trying to kill my daughter. That wasn't the case. I was just spiraling hard. And I guess it was just the crying and the whatever triggers in my life or whatever. I don't even know. I don't have those answers to those questions. But as you can see in my packet, I got out on bond for 5 months, and I went and seen a psychiatrist, a social worker, one-on-one counseling. I took all kinds of anger management classes, conflict resolution classes, everything I could, because I didn't want to be that horrible person ever again in my life. And that's when my rehabilitation began, because I've never been arrested before. This is my first time ever being in a police car, and I've never gotten out, except on that bond for them 5 months, excuse me. And but I knew I didn't want to be that horrible person ever again in my life. So I instantly, on the 23rd, I got out on September 10th of 97 on bond. On September 23rd, 1997, I was in my first class getting help because I didn't want to be that guy ever again. And what I do is every day I take a personal inventory of who I am today. And I say, how can I be a better person than I was the day before? How can I make better choices today with my life that reflect the changed person I am? I'm extremely remorseful for my crime. And I allow my packet, my actions, and everything in life to represent that remorselessness that I have, because I feel like I owe it to my family. I lost my mother this last year. You know, it's like learning how to do incarceration all over again. My mom was my backbone. And you know, that's kind of.
Okay. All right. How many times have you been married?
3 times, sir.
Okay. And how many kids you had with your first wife? Just the boy?
4, sir.
Okay. do you still have contact with your son?
Yes, sir. I just had a visit with them like a week and a half ago.
Okay.
Come up every Sunday. I have visits with them and my grandchildren. And
Okay, while you out on bond, did you try to pay any bills or help with any child support or anything?
I had intentions to, and the court had ordered me to, but the way the process went through the DA's office, I was very unclear. So when they did a bond revocation for me to go to, that's how I ended up getting rearrested on this charge, because I didn't pay my child support. But I had the child support on hand with me to pay that day. But I was very unsure of the process of that method.
Okay. So you're saying you shook the baby 2 different times, okay? Is that the only time you ever laid hands on that baby?
Yes, sir.
You have strong opposition from the judge, the DA, and the chief. You heard the mother of the child, Miss Caroline. And then you have the daughter, Andrea. And, you know, as we saw, she cannot speak for herself, but I mean, that little girl has been through tremendous trauma. Now, I'm not gonna re-go over all of your prison stuff, because it's no doubt that you have done a good job in prison. I mean, no write-ups, lots of education, lots of different things, lots of charity work, all of that. So there's no use for us to get at that. I mean, what I'm looking at today is, have you served enough time for what you have done? And that we'll get to when we come to our voting. So, Warden, do you have anything to say?
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for hearing us this morning. Mike has been here 14 and a half years, and of course, you know that he has been no problem because he's still here. Does anything we ask him to do. He's an excellent worker. I do not envy y'all with the decision you have to make today. But for us, he's been nothing but a good person to have around. He does anything we ask. He's got an excellent work ethic, and I'm sure that Warden Kane, who offered to give him a job as a chaplain, saw the same thing when he was there at Angola.
Okay.
I just have one. You describe a spiral, that you were in a spiral and a downward spiral. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit more? What kind of spiral? Because I can't picture it.
Well, I was in a place, I was in a very unhealthy mental state that I was in, where nothing seemed to meet up. You know, I couldn't get traction with nothing in life. The jobs didn't make sense. The life didn't make sense. It's like I was doing everything that I wasn't meant to do or supposed to be doing. And it's like I was just in the wrong mental state of mind. And it just, I was losing ground to the spiral.
That's the only question.
So we have allowed both your supporters and the victim family to make statements. We've heard from the warden. We've heard from you. So now it's time that we vote. Mr. Freeman, are you prepared to vote?
Yes, ma'am. You know, you look at this case and you look at the one side, you know, in prison, you've done a good job, and I compliment you on that. You know, you have tried to change your life. And then I look at the other side and I see that little girl, and I'm calling her a little girl, but she's 27 years old, had to live 27 years like she's living, and you're at state police. I mean, you know, best of best, you know, state police. The injuries are just, I'm not gonna read them out, because every time I think about it, it really upsets me to just picture this little girl. I have children too. My vote is to deny. You 27 years is not enough time for what you did that child.
Mr. Barra.
I concur with Mr. Freeman for the exact same reasons.
Mr. Aber, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the work you've done and appreciate your being no problem and making a difference. My decision boils down to the fact that you have not, in my opinion, served an appropriate amount of time. And so my vote is also to deny. I wish you well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to conclude our hearing at the Barrack with 10:33. All right, good morning. This is the Louisiana Committee on Parole. We are here in headquarters in Baton Rouge. On the panel today, to my left is Danny Barra, to my right is Pete Freeman, and my name is Jerry Ledoux. We are hearing offenders at Dixon Correctional Institute. Deputy Warden Turner, how are you today?
Morning, how you guys doing? We're doing great here.
Good. Would you introduce your staff to us, please?
Donald Cavalier, classification manager.
Ashley Bradley, records manager.
Jamie DeBall, mental health director.
Alvin King, reentry director.
Great, thank you so much. So the first person we are hearing today, sir, would you introduce yourself and give us your DOC number?
My name's Glenn Guyn. My DOC number is 127925.
Hey, Mr. Glenn, I'm going to read some information from the file, and then we'll conduct a hearing. First of all, I see that you're a 4th felony offender. You're currently serving a 40-year sentence for habitual operation of a clandestine lab and also possession with the intent to distribute methamphetamine. You have a parole eligibility date, March 23rd, 2025, adjusted good time date of 3/30/2054, term date of 3/24/2055. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Great. You have supporters there with you at the facility. You have Cameron Gwynn, Rachel Gwynn, Justin Richardson, William Wall, and China Leatherman. 3 of whom are going to be speaking. We'll let your daughter, Cameron Gwynn, speak first. You can remain where you are. You can just stand up and speak.
You can step up.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that I see a change in the man that I knew him as a kid. I was 11 years old when he got locked up. I'm now 21 years old, and knowing him as an adult, I do believe I see a change in the man that he is today versus the man that I knew when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I didn't really get to know him. He was always in and out of my life, but now seeing him here, the first couple years that he was here, he didn't want to see us because he was ashamed of what he did. And now I'm able to come visit him and get to know him and build that relationship, that father-daughter relationship with him that I was never able to have as a child. And I would like to further build that relationship if we, can get him granted parole. He'd be living with me, and I have a job lined up for him and everything. I'd be there as an adult to make sure he has everything he needs to, have a better life than he was before.
Great. Thank you so much for your comments.
Ma'am.
We also have Cameron Gwynn, your other daughter.
Rachel.
Hello, good morning. I believe my daddy should get out because it's kind of similar to what my sister just said. I was a kid. And it was hard. And I see a change in him. And I have 3 kids that are dying to know him. And I know who my daddy is. He's a good man. And then babies deserve to meet him, and they don't want to have to meet him behind bars. And since the time I've decided to come and see him, because it took me 8 years to come even see him, I saw a change in him. And I'm just proud of how far he's come since he's been here. And I'm ready for him to come home.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
We also have Justin Richardson, your nephew.
How y'all doing? So I've known my Uncle Glenn for a pretty long time. We've I've been around him a little more than the rest, I think, and I can tell you now he's definitely changed. From the guy that I knew 9 years ago to the guy that he is today, they ain't the same. And this group of people that he's got, especially Cameron and Rachel, there ain't nobody that's gonna be able to keep him straight better than Cameron and Rachel. They've both grown up to be very good people, and I know for a fact they're gonna be able to keep him straight. He's not gonna be in the same area that he was in. Everybody's done, grown up and moved away, and I mean, me myself, I can have him a job as soon as he gets out. I know for a fact he's not gonna have a problem getting work. So, I mean, as far as him having a stable, you know, home life and work life, like he's got it. We just need him to come home. So if y'all can give him parole, he's gonna do good. I can promise you that. We ain't gonna let him not. I promise. I love you.
Thank you.
Deputy Warden Turner, would you provide any comments you have for the?
Yes, ma'am. Glenn's been here with us for a while. He's done everything that we've asked him here. He's one of our maintenance guys, inside maintenance. He does a great job helping us keeping the facility operational from a maintenance standpoint. He's not been a disciplinary problem. He's gotten his GED since he's been here with us. And he's a Pride member, so he's one of the better inmates that we have here. And if given the opportunity, I think that he can go out and be successful.
Mr. Gwynn, I know that you have achieved 400 educational hours towards your release. At this time, I'd like for you to tell us why should we consider parole. We've heard about you, and now I want to hear from you. Talk to me about why we should let you go at this time.
Well, I've made all the things I can think of to rehabilitate myself. When 2016, when I made it to Hunts, I was sitting in a cell, and I realized I sat there and beating myself up behind it. Something had to change. I had to change me. I had to change my life. There had to be more to life than me to keep going back and forth to jail. So that day when I was in there, and it was in January 2016 that I made my mind up that I was going to do everything I possibly could to better myself. And at that point, I didn't have a parole eligibility date. And I tried to take advantage of all the programs that I could since then to better myself. And then I had the opportunity to go up for parole. And I seeked out the STAR program. I seeked out other programs to better myself, Celebrate Recovery, several other programs. And I knew there had to be more to life than the way I was living life. I know I was a bad person. I knew I was doing bad things. The only person responsible for my actions is me. And I know there's more to life than just doing prison time. That I could be a productive citizen to the community.
When I was reviewing your file, the comment that I wrote was, what were you thinking cooking meth at 49?
My addiction. I'm gonna be an addict. My addiction had me wrapped up. I really, that's the only thing I could say. I knew it was wrong. I shouldn't have been doing it. But my addiction had me dripped up so tight, it was cunning and baffling. There's no excuse for it.
So you attended the STAR program?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
That STAR program made me aware of a lot of things. It actually picked some scabs on me from when in my childhood, when I growed up, things that I let heal over. And it made me realize that some of the stuff that was going on in my life, even as a child, and then when I got to be a young man, things I took for granted were wrong. Things I thought was okay that wasn't okay. And it led from one thing led to another, to another, to another. And now I know, but it also made me aware of how depression, anxiety, my feelings of, my thoughts, my emotions controlled my actions by not facing them and trying to seek help to get, to better control my thoughts. I didn't have no structure. And the STAR program helped me have structure. It helped me understand these different feelings that was overcoming me, that I could have control over them instead of just acting upon them. And it's helped me out a lot. It really has.
Do either of my colleagues have any questions?
I have a question. What's the longest period you ever served in jail?
This period right here.
How long did you serve on that armed robbery charge before you got out?
5, right at 5.5.
Okay. Did you complete that supervision satisfactorily?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no revocations, no problems?
No, sir, none at all.
I have no further questions.
So how long have you actually been serving on this particular offense?
I'm right at 9 years.
Okay. Mr. Barrow?
Y'all got all my questions.
9 years. 9 years of a 40 is not a lot of time.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that. Yes, ma'am.
Not a lot of time at all.
I'm gonna move for an executive.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Steve Stringer,
Yes.
Gary Ledoux,
Yeah.
Dan Barros.
Yes.
We'll be in executive session to discuss confidential information.
Yes, ma'am.
Warden, we're going back into session. It's now 10:55. I had a question. Y'all have thinking for a change there at your facility?
Yes, ma'am, we have that.
Do you know that there's somebody there, I'm sure. What is the next start date for that class?
Be really any time, depends on the backlog for people.
He said it could be anytime, just depends on the backlog. But, you know, we'll do whatever, you know, is necessary if the board makes that as a recommendation.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna take lead on voting today. Mr. Gwynn, we want you to be successful when you reenter society. My vote today is going to be to require you to take Thinking for a Change and then go to a transitional work program for 6 months. You would be granted parole, and then hopefully we would find out if you're sincerely finished with your addiction, because obviously on work release, you will have opportunities to mess up. Mr. Freeman?
I concur with that recommendation. You know, do your best. Go to work release. Let's see what you got. Save a little money. And after you complete that 6 months of work release, I think your date is in 2/25. You should be right past that date for your parole and you'll be let out there. Good luck to you.
Mr. Bauer?
I'm gonna concur with them, but I just want to remind you, you've done about 10 years on a 40-year sentence.
Got a break.
If you mess up, it's 30 years. And we're gonna be the guys you gotta come back to when you mess up. And the parole officer will be saying, well, he did this and this. And it won't take us this long to decide what to do with you next time. It's gonna be an instant revoking for his 30 years. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I think that'll probably be a pretty big deterrent not to do anything wrong. 30 years.
And listen to your daughters.
And your parole officer.
Okay. You have been granted parole with some conditions, and we better not see you back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate y'all.
Come in, Deborah. Come on, because it's about to start. Oh God, I'm shaking.
You'll be okay.
I'm having anxiety.
This is the Parole Board back in session. We have on panel today, on my left is Mr. Barra, to my right is Mr. Freeman. My name is Ms. Ledoux. Sir, would you state your name and your DOC number for the record?
Robert Hunt, 318004.
Mr. Hunt, you're before this panel today as a third felony offender. You're currently serving a 62-year sentence for the crime of simple burglary, second-degree kidnapping, and you were revoked on a forgery charge. You have a parole eligibility date of 8/1/2021. That means you're a rehear. been before a panel before. You have an adjusted time of 9/23/2036 and a full term date 3/4/2063. Does that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We have several members in support of you today. Josiah Hayes III, Kelly Hunt, and Susan Antley. They all wish to speak via Zoom. We're going to allow them that time now. So if Josiah Hayes, you'll unmute, keep your comments to about 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes. So thank you very much. Mr. Hayes. Please unmute.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to get to it. Yeah, first of all, I just want to say to all the victims in this case that, you know, I'm deeply saddened by the events that taken place and what they had to go through. Nobody should have to go through that, and I hope that one day God brings them peace into their lives. I met Mr. Hunt about 35 years ago. We became to know each other. And when I realized that he had a troubled past, I knew that he told me. I decided, I saw that he had no place to go. He was basically living on the streets. And I thought maybe he could come stay with me. First thing my father told me was, no, I don't want Scott nowhere near my house. Wouldn't tell me why. So my friends aren't welcome, neither am I. So I talked to him about leaving town together. And he said, where we go? I said, we'll go stay with my mother in West Monroe, live with her, go to church with her and stuff, and get away from here. Well, that evening, I know it was mentioned in the last hearing about why Mr. Hunt couldn't go home. His stepfather didn't want him around the house. He wasn't wanted. Let me tell you a little bit about his stepfather, Keith, how I became to know Mr. Keith. Imagine you're standing at the fuel pumps, filling up your vehicle after you got off work, and some gentleman comes walking up to you with no shirt on, flip-flops, beer in his hand, bushy hair, sweating, about 350 to 400 pounds, and approaches you without saying a word. And as he tilts his hand up and downs this beer, then proceeds to crush this beer can in his hand until it slices his hand wide open, blood draining down his arm. Then he proceeds to take and wipe that blood all over your face and all over your shirt. Then tells you the next time it'll be your blood, not mine, if you don't leave Scott alone. That's Scott's stepfather. That's what he had to endure and live with. That's why I wouldn't want to go back home if that's what I had to go home to. So that night, me and him both decided to take off and pack up and leave. We went to West Monroe. We stayed with my mother, went to church with her. That's where me and him both met. Miss Wells was at church. And Scott and I worked 3 jobs together. We lived together. We were inseparable for the 2 years that we were together. Different situations caused us to split apart. I went back to South Louisiana. He showed back up a few months later. My dad told me when I first went to his apartment, I don't want Scott around my apartment. Well, he showed up and I couldn't turn a friend away, so I snuck him in. Well, it wasn't until my dad's phone bill got run up to about $1,000 that he realized he was there and ran him out of town. Scott did have a troubled past, and he's been through a lot. But it was at that point, after my mother's phone bill got drove up also, all 3 of us, myself and my mother and father, were also victims by Mr. Hunt's actions. But he's been forgiven by us. We've talked about it. But also, it was at that point I had to make a decision, is family or friend, because it was costing me the relationship between my mother and father I was about to lose. So I walked away from our friendship and dismissed him like a bad habit. and went on. And for decades, we finally spoke again. And I realized at that point that Mr. Hunt has transformed his life. I've seen evidence of it. I've seen proof of it. I know time is crucial, and we're limited to time here, so I can't really go into more detail. All I can tell you is he reads that Bible every day. He lives by that Bible. He has, accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior into his life. And I've seen a lot change about him. He used to cuss like a sailor. He don't cuss anymore. His attitude now is that he's comfortable where he's at. He understands whether or not he gets a yes today or he gets a no. He walks out of here with a smile on his face, happy, because God has already freed him. Okay.
We need to wrap up. We have several more people that we need to hear from. Okay. Thank you though for your comments. We also have Kelly Hunt, Mr. Hunt's sister, if you would like to speak. Kelly Hunt on. Okay. And unmute.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just want to say that I think that my brother has changed a great amount since he's been incarcerated. When he went into jail, he had no real reason to want to live. And throughout the time that he's been incarcerated, he has been searching for the answers that he needed to move forward with his life. And he found those throughout, God. He has been wanting to be able to be released so that he can share his experiences and help other people. And he's wanting to be able to spend time with his family and his relatives and things of that nature. He has had a pretty bad childhood, so to speak, but I think most of that's probably on record in general. But he does have a home to go to. He does have a vehicle to drive. He does have a job, and things of that nature. And whatever the parole board would recommend him do, he would do any and all of it for his release, of course. But I think that he's done more than enough time for the crime that he has committed.
Okay.
That's about all I have to say about it.
We also have Susan Antley, a friend. If you will unmute and keep your comments to around under 3 minutes. Are you trying to connect now? Is that what I see? Okay. We can't hear you.
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak today on behalf of Scott. My title of this is Bright Side of Broken. I went for 30-something years not hearing from Scott, and I got approved to talk to him and to email him. And let me tell you, the first time I spoke to him, it was like a guiding light. The energy that I felt from him, and it's going all over me right now. I know my God saved him and brought him to the light. Right side of broken. He was broken and he did an awful thing. But we have forgiven him. We love him. I love him like my son, and I can't wait till the day that I can put my arms around him and love him and tell him how much I love him and forgive him. He's forgiven me and I've forgiven him. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he has changed his life 100%. Greater love hath no man than to lay down his life for his friend. That would be me. I would do it today for his.
Thank you very much for your.
From there. Thank you for letting me speak.
You're quite welcome. Okay, at this time, Warden Turner, do you have any comments that you would like to make?
Yes, ma'am. Real quick, you know, he's done, like I said, what we've asked of him here. We got him in 2022. He's completed a lot of programming. He's currently one of our level 2 trustees, worked back with our maintenance shop. Had some disciplinary issues throughout his incarceration, but the last 3 years, seems like he's been right up free. He's currently enrolled in Victim Impact. He's a Pride member. And like I said, he's also one of our trustees here. So he does what we ask him to do.
Okay. We're going to go now to the victim's family. We have 4 people who have asked to speak. Our guidelines only allow for 3. We have Tom Holtzclaw, Gwen Rankin, Sharon Wells, and Casey Wells. So if the Gwen or Tom, if one of y'all will let the other speak on your behalf, that would be good.
Yes, that's fine. And my sister can certainly take that. I think we speak from the same heart. So when you hear from her, you're hearing from me. So that's fine. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So at this time, then, Gwen, if you want to make a statement.
Yes, ma'am. I'm very relieved to hear that Mr. Hunt has received the Lord as his Savior. And as we do read and study in his word, we find that there are certain consequences for our acts. As you stated at the beginning, his term was 60-something years, I believe. He has not fulfilled that by any means. This man entered the home of our mother and father on a Sunday evening when they were expecting to go back to church. They had had a number of incidents at their home where people were injured. Dad looked up and saw someone approaching the door that obviously had been hurt. He called out to my mother, "Honey, we've got to help somebody else." Their intentions were good. They were there to help. Mr. Hunt's intentions were not. He disrupted their lives for the remainder of the time that they were here with us. They had to change entirely. They had to strip their house entirely from the blood that was strewn everywhere, from the debris left behind. When we entered that house after a long standoff when the police had come into that, the stench of blood, the degree of turmoil was overwhelming. To our parents, they could not go back in that home. They had to come with me. They could not stay with Tom because he had a 2-story house. It was easier for them to have access. This affected them until the end of their lives. My mother's words to me were, "Gwen, don't let them let that man out." The blinds were never opened after that. The doors had repeated locks on them. And if a car drove by and honked too much or turned in the driveway, they were alarmed. This was a loving Christian family on their way to church with their life disrupted until the very end. I do not wish for him to return. I do pray that he will use his influence and that he will witness to those around him. Perhaps that is the Lord's plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to save Sharon for last. I'm going to ask if Casey Wells, the victim's son, would speak at this time.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Are you just audio or?
Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead and make your statement, Casey.
Bear with me, please. But you know, it's great to hear that he's found God
but you know, that is for an afterlife. Here in the real world, we have real consequences for our actions. And it's funny hearing about, you know, a troubled past kind of being the excuse for these actions and things that have happened. Well, because of this person, I also had a troubled past, but I have yet to make a decision to be a felon, to be a crook, to be an abuser, to be a con. I refuse to do such. You know, want to live a good life. I don't want to do things like that. And being the con that he is, it's easy to do good in a place where you're forced to do good. But time has proven that with given free will, that this person puts people's lives in danger, and if freed, will continue to do so. I don't want to really take up any more of anybody's time, but you know, that's basically it. I just don't think this person be freed.
May I ask one question, Casey? Are you the biological son of Mr. Robert Hunt?
I am, unfortunately, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last victim we'll hear from will be Sharon Wells. Sharon. We can't hear you if
Okay, yes, I'm here now.
you can
And
proceed.
okay, thank you. Like, I agree with everyone. The plea agreement it has not been met yet. It was, charges were to be served consecutively for 60 years. And as part of that agreement, Hunt, he's a twice convicted felon, would not be he wasn't going to be sentenced as a habitual offender. And he agreed to the sentence as a plea bargain. Unfortunately, the laws have changed, and he gets to come up for parole every 2 years. Yeah. In June of 2000, you know, he was charged with aggravated rape, false imprisonment, second-degree battery, and parole violation. That's because he held me against my will in a hotel room. And then when he was released, he came after me again in September of 2000. He walked over 10 miles to my parents' house after throwing the protective order under a bridge with this duffel bag. Broke into my parents' house while I wasn't there, nor Casey. Hid up in the attic for 3 days until he waited for me to get home. And when I did get home and no one was in the house, he came in with my son with a knife, you know, on my 6-year-old son with a knife held to next to his throat, wanting to know where a shotgun was at. And he continued, I just was begging and pleading for him to leave Casey alone. Don't hurt him. He dragged me out of the house with a knife to my throat after he made me get my checkbook and my money and my keys. He threw me in the truck and was driving to the end of the road, which I knew where it was, had my head in his lap, and gets to the stop sign. All I know is I'm not going anywhere with him. He's not killing me outside this neighborhood. If I die, I'll die here. I threw it in park and threw the keys out the window, and there we started struggling. I was trying to get away, and I got cut across the face. I had to have over 40 stitches. I got a cut across the shoulder. I had knife wounds on my hand. That's the reason all the blood was inside. And that was after he cut Mr. Hostcloth across the arm and told him if they didn't leave their home, he would kill them. And while inside that house, he made me crawl on all fours. You know, it was over 3-hour episode of wondering if I was going to come out of there alive or not. My parents had to leave their home. They moved from their home. And I also want to bring up the fact that I think on Scott's behalf, I was contacted in May of 2010 by a female and her son wanting to contact Casey to contact Scott. And then that was through Facebook. And then in March of 2023, Josiah Hayes contacted me through Facebook on behalf of Scott. So Do I feel safe if he's released? No, I don't. I don't feel safe at all. I don't feel safe for those around me because I don't know if he will come back after me. And if he's had people contact me in March of 2023, May of 2010, then what's going to stop him from trying to get in touch with me once he's released?
Well, thank you for your comments today. We've heard a lot about you, Mr. Hunt, but we haven't heard from you. And at this time, and Ms. Wells, you have an opportunity to have the last word, so you can stay on. Mr. Hunt, how would you convince us that today you're prepared for parole and that we should give you that opportunity?
I'd like to take the moment that I have to address the victims through you, because this is something that I don't have the opportunity to do in any other fashion. And I realized not only the physical pain and harm that I caused, but I realized the emotional and the financial devastation that I caused in their lives. I realized that I went into the Holtzclaw's house and I not only physically accosted them, but I stole their sense of peace and security. I turned their house that was a sanctuary into a house of horrors. And they met a monster that day. And I did the same thing with my direct victim, Miss Wells. And with my son, whom at one point in my life, I decided serving my own interests were more important than him, and I abandoned him as well. And I'm in prison deservedly. And I agree that the sentence was just and fair. And the only reason I'm before you today is because I met the man that they met on that day. But it took 20 years worth of this institutionalization on this charge for me to finally reach the end of myself, and it was horrible. My record is indicative of an individual who was searching for something, and I only say this in hindsight because I couldn't see it at the time. My record is full of write-ups, intoxications. I have a possession of a knife charge in there. Angola got pretty bad at the end, and I did have one for protection. I was damaged, and I don't use that as an excuse to hide behind it. I don't offer as some opportunity to absolve or exonerate myself from my actions. I'm not only responsible for them, which that is what happened in the courtroom that day, but I am accountable for them. It reached a point in 2022 of January, and I'm not here seeking sympathy. I understand. I don't have any illusions that anything is owed to me here. I don't deserve the people that have spoken on my behalf, and I don't deserve to impose upon the Holtzclaws or upon the Wells of their time so that they may come here and they may have to reiterate it and restate their position again concerning me. But I met that person that they met on that day. I met him in 2022, and the intoxications were the end result of all of the self-help classes that you see interspersed in between them: Alcoholics Anonymous, Cage Your Rage, Votech. I was trying to find a balance, but there was always something missing, and I just reached the conclusion that I was beneficial to nobody. I was not even beneficial in the prison society. And I began trying to overdose so I was assured that I was going to hell. And so I was ready to get off, and I was ready to receive whatever came afterwards. And that's why most of my intoxications ended in the hospital. But then a change came over my life, and I didn't even know what it was. I had no idea what it was. But I have since learned that, yes, as the Holy Clause stated, God has a plan for my life, and I executed in here. It's my only desire was coming before this parole board to be released. It's because I understand the impact that I had on my victim's life. Everybody in this room and everybody on this screen are my victims, even those that are speaking on my behalf. It is because of me and because of the decisions and choices that I made that everybody has to meet here, the parole board, the state. Every time I receive a tray or receive some clothing, somebody else has to pay for it. I am still a drain upon society, and I can never change what I've done. And this paralyzed me for a while, living in the regret. And I had to find some way past that. And the only thing that I found that worked for me, that could heal me, was God. And I wasn't looking for him when he grabbed a hold of me. But he has transformed my life. And I do spread the message in here. I believe in law and order. I believe in the opportunity for everybody to be able to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. I don't believe anybody has the right to impose their will upon another human being, whether through physical, manipulative effects or psychological attempts. And this is what I stand on, and this is what I live in here, because I don't live the way that I live so that I may one day be able to go home. I live the way that I live because I have found out that it is right. All of my actions, all of my life is the fruit. I was trying to attack the drug usage that I was doing. The drug usage was actually the solution to what was wrong with me. I was broken. The roots were damaged. Now, like I said, I don't use that as an excuse for anything I did. I am accountable. And no matter how this hearing turns out, I'll leave out of here because my foundation is secure. I am stable. And I will leave out of here living the same way that I live today, because I didn't come in here so that I may try to sweep what happened under the rug, or we may try to attempt to pretend like it didn't happen, or that to diminish the gravity or the levity of what has occurred. I impacted people's lives. I have 2 children. I have 3 children sitting here that were not, 2 of them were not even direct victims of the crime. And I see the impact that I had on them. But I want to assure them that if it's not today, and I perceive that it may not be, and that's okay, I wanted to take the opportunity to apologize to them, and not just in words. I apologized to them when I received my sentence. Sir? Okay. But I didn't understand what I was doing. I now apologize to them with remorse. I now apologize to them with the understanding of what I did. I now apologize to them with the assurance that I will go forward and I will attempt to sway and to persuade with the 40+ years of being institutionalized what I have learned. My only desire here today, if I am released, is so that I may care for my ailing parents, my aging parents. And so that I may be proactive instead of reactive. I may be able to reach some people that are about to cross that line before they create one victim.
Well, Mr. Hunt, you're very well spoken. You're very well spoken, and you appear very authentic, and I appreciate that. I would be asking my colleagues if they would like to ask any questions.
Well, I have no questions.
Mr. Barra? Mr. Hunt, I'm going to take lead on voting today. You have demonstrated and shown what rehabilitation is supposed to be, taking opportunities to take classes. But I do think that your epiphany, the moment that the light came on, has been too recent for me to grant today. And you said that you kind of felt like that, but you have done so many good things, and you're becoming the person that you need to be. And I want to commend you for that. But today, my vote is going to be to deny parole. But I would tell you, if you continue on the path that you're going, the future may be different for you. But today, my vote is to deny. Okay. Mr. Freeman?
I concur. You're doing great now, but I've got to see it a longer period than this. So my vote today, due to victim opposition and the heinous nature of your crime, And it has affected so many people that my vote is to deny.
And Mr. Palmer.
I'm gonna concur with my colleagues for exactly the same reasons. You know, we do believe that you have found the Lord and it is a positive thing in your life. However, the crimes you committed were so serious and so heinous that it's still a debt to society you still. So good luck with your future and continue on the path you're on.
I hope that you get a chance to take Thinking for a Change. I think that would be a helpful class for you.
I also had noted on mine, recommend victim awareness classes and Cage Your Rage. You hadn't done those yet either, which both would be beneficial for you
I think that
before your next hearing.
adequate time to prepare for your next hearing. So to the victims and family, we appreciate your attendance today. At this time, your request for reconsideration for parole has been denied. Okay, we are back hearing offenders at DCI. Sir, today you're before the Parole Committee. My name is Jerry Ledoux. To my left is Danny Byraw. To my right is Pete Freeman. Would you please state your name and your DOC number for the records?
My name is Ronald James. My DOC number is 98526.
Mr. James, we find that you're a first felony offender. You're currently serving a 75-year sentence for armed robbery. You have a parole eligibility date that was 11/9/2001. This is a rehear. You have good time date of 7/22/2031, and you have a full-time date of 11/9/2056. Does that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, at this time, we'd like to ask you, why do you think that we should parole you today?
Yes, ma'am. I believe, I deserve a second chance, and I've rehabilitated myself, ma'am, and I apologize. And I wrote that a program years ago where you could write letters and give it to the designated warden at the institution, and she or he would take it and pass it on to the victim, to Baton Rouge, and Baton Rouge would pass it on to the victim. And I truly apologize. I know I did something wrong. I just asked for a second chance, ma'am. And I know I hurt their family, because I hurt my family too. Because when I do time, they did time, and I apologize to that family, ma'am. And I just, if there's anything else I can do to make up and do better, and I'm gonna do better, ma'am. And I apologize to them very much, ma'am.
Okay. We'll be asking you some more questions. Deputy Warden Turner, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, ma'am. I can probably sit here all day and talk about the type of inmate that Ronald's been since he's been at DCI. From the moment he got off the bus, he's been a respectful inmate. We've never had a problem with him. I think his last write-up was over 17 years ago. He does everything that we ask him here. He works real close with myself. He works real close with the inmate population. He works real close with the other administration here. And he's one that we can always go to when we have issues or concerns, and get suggestions and recommendations from him as how we can be better supervisors here, how the administration can improve the facility. And he's just been an awesome inmate. And I think if the board would give him a second chance, I don't think we would ever have to worry about him again. He's been a tremendous inmate, and he's been a real respectful inmate his entire time here at DCI. And I definitely appreciate him. I wish there were more inmates like him.
Thank you for those comments. We also have the Mr. Rapidu.
He's not.
Not going to be on, sorry. So at this time, your case has been assigned to Mr. Byraw, and he will be taking the lead and asking questions.
All right, Mr. James, I just need to get a couple of facts in the record first. And basically, on November 9th, 81, you were selling magazine subscriptions door to door and sold a subscription to LMA Monroe and left. And then you returned a short time later and said you were there to correct paperwork, the address on the paperwork, and then asked to use the restroom. When you came out of the restroom, you wrestled with Miss Monroe to the floor, put a knife to her neck, and threatened to kill her, sexually assaulted her, and then took $85 from her purse. That's what we see as pretty much the facts of this case. I also see that although you're a first offender, you've been arrested 11 times for 15 different offenses, and 7 of them were crimes against the person. And specifically, I'd like to ask you about 2 charges in Kansas that it looks like one of them was dismissed, and I don't know why. I was gonna ask you why. And the other one was dismissed due to the witness being deceased. So on 8/4/77, August 4th, 1977, in Kansas, you had got arrested for a rape charge. What happened there?
Well, I was in Kansas at the time, a town called Junction City, Kansas, and it was a young lady that was living with me by the name, I remember the name, girl, Cheryl, and we had a disagreement. And I didn't agree with what she was saying, and she didn't agree with what I was saying. And then the sheriff, the lawyer was named, the sheriff was named Mr. Stephen Opak, I believe, if I remember correctly. And she went to him and she got him to file charges against me. But we did wrestle, sir. But what the assault didn't happen, so she put that part on. But we did wrestle, and Mr. Stephen Opak didn't see nothing fit in it, and so he dismissed the charges, sir.
Okay, and then, so that was basically a disagreement between you and your girlfriend that she put charges on you and then ended up getting denied.
Yes, sir.
All right, what was the second one with the rape and the armed robbery?
Okay, sir. When I
That was
went back,
25th, 81.
yes, sir. When I went back to that house, sir, to get the paperwork, to straighten the paperwork out, sir, that lady said, "Oh, you came back here to ravish me?" I said, "No, ma'am." She said, "Yes, you did. You did come back here to ravish me?" I said, "No, ma'am, I did not." I said, "I come back here to straighten up the paperwork because I forgot to put your name and your address on it." And then I got arrested for it. And when I went to the county jail, I stayed in the county jail. I had the armed robbery charge and the sexual charge. And the sexual charge it was dismissed for no reason. I don't know what happened, but it was dismissed. And I was charged with the armed robbery only, sir. And I was given the 75 years that I have now, sir.
Right.
You know,
You're talking about the current charge that you're in for with the magazine. And on that charge, there was no semen found on her, but there was your semen found on her clothes. And the doctor's impression was there was a forced intercourse, whether you got charged with it or not. That's the end of that report. But what I was just asking you about is the one that happened in Kansas, the second one that happened in Kansas.
okay, sir. Mr. Stephen Opak, the sheriff, they didn't find no credible evidence in that trial, and they dismissed it, sir, because I can say it didn't happen, but they didn't find no credible evidence, sir.
On both of the ones in Kansas.
Yes, sir.
All right. I see that you took some classes, inmate classes, in 2010 and 11. Then you went on a dry spell until 2024, where you took another class enrolling in pre-release on 7/15/24. Am I missing anything right there? Did you do anything in between 2011 and that one class in 2024 that I don't see? Besides the certificates, I'm about significant classes where you get good time credit. I see you had a lot of certificates.
Yes, sir. Well, I was a facilitator for character count for Mr. Duvall. He had DCI. Then when the pandemic hit and then it came on, we kind of like straightened it a little bit. Then I already had the good time that I could earn, and I already had the certificates for the other classes. And I wouldn't go back and take them over because I know I couldn't get no more good time for them. That was the maximum I could get from that.
So did you take victims awareness?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you take thinking for change?
I can't say that again, sir.
You take thinking for change?
No, sir.
And did you take any sex offender classes at all?
No, sir. No, sir, I did not.
Okay. Those would be recommended classes for a guy in your situation, just to let you know about that.
All right, sir.
So tell me about the day that the magazines were sold. How did that go down? What's your, you'd already said part of it just now, but you were selling magazines and then what happened?
And I went back to correct it, a date, a name on the receipt, and then that's when she said, "Sir."
I'm listening.
Oh, and that's when she said, "Oh, you came back here to assault me. You came back." I said, "No, ma'am, I did not. I came back to correct the receipt, ma'am." I said, "No, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did." Then I asked her, I said, "Would you let me use your bathroom?" I used her bathroom, and that was it, man. That was it, sir. And I left. I corrected the date on the receipt and I left. If I remember correctly, sir, I think it was a TV guide on that receipt.
Okay. That's all the questions I had for you.
Thank you, sir.
Were you living in Louisiana when you were selling magazines?
No, ma'am.
Where were you living and why were you selling magazines 36?
We were going from state to state selling magazines. I was traveling with a company called Chapel Sales out of New Jersey. And we was just going from state to state selling magazine, books and encyclopedias and Bibles and geographics and stuff like that.
I just got one question. How did your semen end up in her panties?
I don't know, sir. I have no idea. But they found no evidence and no probable cause to press no charges. So I don't know what's going on. I didn't know what happened, sir.
Okay, no further questions.
At this time, we are gonna be prepared to vote, Mr. Buffer.
Well, Mr. James, based on your criminal history of convictions and arrests, today I have to vote to deny parole because of your violent nature of this crime, the opposition from law enforcement, there's strong law enforcement opposition here, and the victim's family is strongly opposed. And for those reasons, I have to vote to deny parole today.
Mr. Freeman?
After what the warden said, I was sitting here and said, I'm gonna base it totally on his interview. But when they got your DNA in her underwear and then you go still sit there and tell me nothing happened, can't do it. So my vote is to deny.
Mr. James. Wow, you have so much going for you in terms of your support from the warden and your respect in the facility. To be honest, I concur with my colleagues. I want to see you take a few more classes. And denying your involvement is not in your favor. Okay. And you're facing 75-year sentence. You've done 32 years. My vote is to deny, but I'm going to encourage you to continue down the same path. Okay. Thank you very much. Today,
yes, ma'am.
Your parole has denied, and you will have the opportunity to write back. The time is 12:02. Warden, if we don't have any other business that you know of, we're going to go ahead and conclude our hearings today.
Thank you, ma'am.